Hey guys, this is EckhartsLadder. Hello and welcome to another video. Today we're talking about some Halo lore and in particular the Spartan III Program. So as some of you guys may know, I've been going through a huge Halo reread. I started right from the very beginning of the Halo book series, The Fall of Reach, and today I actually just finished Ghosts of Onyx, which was always one of my favorites growing up. Ghosts of Onyx is an interesting book because it not only takes place with what was happening in the sort of months between Halo 2 and Halo 3, but we also get to see the introduction of the Spartan III Program, a program which is, in my opinion, one of humanity's most disturbing projects of all time. So first, a bit of history. The Spartan II Program was created by Catherine Halsey with the support of the Office of Naval Intelligence and was a tool envisioned to end current and future conflicts. At the time of the Spartan II Program's inception, the UNSC was facing a threat of civil war from insurrectionists, and many at the time believed that the UNSC as it existed would not survive into the future. The Spartan II Program surveyed UNSC space for genetically perfect children. These children were then kidnapped, replaced with flashed clones who would die, and were brought to Reach, where they would undergo extensive training and later augmentation. The Spartan IIs were initially kept secret, but after the Covenant invasion and after the war started going very poorly for humanity, the Spartan II Program was publicized for morale purposes, and that's why Spartan IIs were always listed as missing in action regardless of their fates, because these individuals were held up as humanity's greatest warriors. There were, however, some problems with the Spartan II Program. First of all, it was extraordinarily expensive, not only in terms of money, but also time. The Mjolnir armor that Spartans wore cost as much as a spaceship. It was very difficult to find the perfect humans for the program, and the initial augmentation also had a very poor success rate, with many Spartans either dying or being forced to wash out of active service because of crippling injury. The Spartan III Program was envisioned by Colonel Ackerson, who was one of the chief opponents to the Spartan II Program. Its existence was known only by a very small group of top UNSC and ONI officials. Not even Catherine Halsey was involved in the Spartan III Program. At least that's how it was initially presented in the books. I mean, obviously the lore's changed a little bit based on the Halo Reach video game. Catherine Halsey interacts directly with Noble Team, which was made up largely of Spartan IIIs, but whatever. So there were some major differences with the Spartan III Program. First of all, we have cost. Candidates were not as heavily screened, and instead of looking for genetically perfect candidates, the Spartan IIIs were usually just very good, although there were often behavioral issues. Secondly, Spartan IIIs were not given Mjolnir armor. Instead, they were gifted SPI or spy armor, which traded the incredible power and durability of Mjolnir for extra stealth potential, but without things like an energy shield or the same kind of physical augmentations. So cost was one difference. The second was publicity. As I mentioned, the Spartan III Program was very secret. That's because Spartan IIIs were, to be honest, meant to be disposable in very large numbers, and as we'll talk about in a minute, that would play out right by design. The third difference was training and augmentation. Spartan IIIs underwent even more serious training than Spartan IIs. They were trained not only by Frank Mendez, who trained the Spartan IIs, but also by Kurt, a Spartan II who was, to the galaxy at large, presumed KIA, but was actually whisked away from active service to train the next generations. Additionally, Spartan III augmentations were also much safer, with 100% of Spartan IIIs coming out alive and healthy after the augmentation process. That was actually one of the major positive changes compared to the Spartan II Program, and was largely due to the fact that most of the augmentations were chemical based with very little surgery. One of the more controversial aspects of the Spartan III Program was a drug which, in extreme situations, made the Spartan IIIs more aggressive, helping them to bypass shock. The problem was this tinkering with the biochemistry of their brain threatened to affect the reasoning abilities of Spartan IIIs, so they needed ongoing shots to counteract this. The final difference is that Spartan IIIs were not kidnapped from parents based on genetic suitability. Rather, they volunteered, usually between the ages of 4 to 6. I say volunteered like that because no 4 to 6-year-old who just lost their parents, which was usually the case with the Spartan III initiates, they were typically taken from populations which just had their worlds glassed, can really think through an offer when a UNSC or ONI officer comes to their door. Alright, so I've set the scene. We've got very young children going through the incredibly difficult Spartan process with the kind of underlying principle that they're meant to be used disposably for very, very difficult and high casualty missions. How did this play out? Well, to be frank, not very well for the Spartan IIIs. The UNSC needed soldiers badly, and it needed them for the front lines. That brings us to Operation Prometheus, where the first class of Spartan IIIs, Alpha Company, attacked a Covenant asteroid which was serving as a shipyard. All 300 Spartans, every single soldier was killed in action, although it was a strategic success. And this is a very, very disturbing first chapter, or it's near the beginning of the book anyway, of Ghosts of Onyx, and it gets even worse at the very end when you realize that not only is every Spartan lost, but that the Spartans of Alpha Company were only 10 to 12 years old. These were children which had not even underwent puberty yet. Actually, that's not quite true. Naturally, they wouldn't have underwent puberty. However, the process was actually sped up by the Office of Naval Intelligence, who needed their soldiers ready as soon as possible. So the UNSC threw away 300 children for what was effectively a tactical victory that would never be openly discussed because of the beyond top secret nature of the program and its objectives. That gives us Beta Company in 2537, and once you know, basically the exact same thing happened. Not only was almost the entirety of Beta Company thrown away in a single battle, but even at the same age, most of Beta Company was only 10 to 12 years old when they successfully destroyed a fuel depot at the Battle of Pegasi Delta. We know less of Gamma Company, which came next, although the training timetable was a little bit longer, with Gamma Company activating at around the age of 12 to 14 rather than 10 to 12. The fate for most of Gamma Company is unknown. The Ghosts of Onyx does follow 15 Spartan IIIs which remained on Onyx where they were being trained during the events of that book. Nonetheless, it's very likely that Gamma Company was the final generation of Spartan IIIs. Delta Company was envisioned and they would have begun training in 2552, but I don't think it's very likely that that still happened, with the war ending that year and Spartan 4s generally being much, much older and having already entered military service. So yeah, that's the story of the Spartan IIIs. Perhaps some of the greatest Spartans of all time. Physiologically and outside their armor, Spartan IIIs were comparable and in some cases even better than their Spartan II brethren, especially Gamma Company with those aggressive behavioral modifiers. That being said, Spartan IIIs just were more disposable than Spartan IIs. They didn't get the armor, they were trained en masse, and they were used secretly in cases when many knew that they would die. So how do we take that lore together with what we've seen of Spartan IIIs and games like Halo Reach and other material? Well, some Spartan IIIs were apparently selected to be elevated to basically Spartan II status. We also have headhunters and other Spartan III groups which operated outside of Alpha, Beta, or Gamma companies. But I do think the lore is also a bit mixed up, so take it how you want it. I personally really enjoy the Spartan program as it's established in the early books, and I generally prefer that to what's in Halo Reach and other stuff. But guys, that's all I have for today. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you guys want more Halo lore videos, make sure to give this one a like, share it with your friends, and let me know any topics you'd like to see me cover in the future. Till next time, guys, have a good one, be safe, and may the Force be with you.